Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Sunday morning to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there this morning and having a fantastic start to your Sunday and a great weekend out there so far. Here to give you some updated information on what's going to happen weather-wise for your Sunday. We'll break it down in great detail, talk about continuous feed of moisture out west in the form of higher elevation snow. And like we've been mentioning, even some of these lower elevations are getting some snow also. Quick hitting winter storm across the northern plains. We'll speak on details on that. And, the eastern U.S. is pretty quiet today, but there will be some thunderstorms. There's some thunderstorms out there right now across areas of Florida, but we'll continue to have a threat of that throughout the afternoon, evening hours. So we'll speak on that. After we do that, we will break it off into a segment talking about the severe weather threat for tomorrow, our Monday. We could kickstart our work week with some pretty active weather as far as severe weather. As of now, just a marginal risk, but this could uptrend into a slight risk. So we'll speak about why here in a second as we get to that segment of the video. And then there is a severe weather threat for Tuesday. We'll briefly mention that. And after that, we'll just speak on, some model guidance on going out over the next 7 days, as I do think we'll have multiple storm systems to talk about. Now, how significant are they going to be? We're not quite sure yet, but I can tell you a big area of the country we'll be watching over the next 7 to maybe 10 days is the Northeast, where we could have maybe 1 to 2 winter storms. Just depends on where you live. The I-95 corridor, we're starting to get into March, obviously. We're going to start to struggle somewhat with temperatures and things like that. But as you guys know, y'all can still get a nor'easter in March. Heck, sometimes even in April you can get it. So we'll break that down in good detail and get you guys covered with that. So if you folks have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. Like the video if you like it. And if anybody has anything that I can pray about or pray over, as always, please put those in the comments below so I can pray over it and others can do so too. So let's talk about what's going on right now. We got moisture across the west, not as widespread as when we did the video yesterday morning. Things are starting to calm down somewhat, but we'll continue to get the higher elevation snow. Looks like it's snowing around the Salt Lake City region right now. I would love to know if you live in northern Utah and what you're seeing in northern Utah around Salt Lake City, those places like that. Even got a stream of moisture outside of the Rockies in Colorado. I'm wondering if we're getting any snow just south of Denver. But we are getting some heavy snow up here in sections of North Dakota, even areas of South Dakota seeing a little bit of wintry weather. Snow is flying around across areas of like northeast Montana, a little bit of snow back here in central Montana also. But this is going to develop into a bigger winter storm as this low continues to move up into Canada. The central U.S. is pretty quiet. The eastern U.S. is pretty quiet. A little bit of rain out here in the down east areas of Maine. Just nothing but rain pretty much in Nova Scotia. So you guys are waking up to a soggy start to your Sunday morning. And then we got these thunderstorms down here in Florida and even some thunderstorms off the coast of the Carolinas. I think these will diminish and then reform later on this afternoon, this evening, almost kind of like a summer type pattern down there for Florida today. If we look at the Storm Prediction Center, guys, there is a marginal risk for severe weather in Florida today. Pretty much includes the entire peninsula of Florida. Technically doesn't include Tampa down to Fort Myers and kind of the west coast of Florida, kind of the Gulf Coast region. But, that doesn't mean you can't get any severe weather. But the level 1 out of 5 risk. And then thunderstorms are possible as far north as Charleston, Columbus, Georgia, and into like Montgomery, Alabama. You guys could see some thunderstorms. And then later on tonight, we could get some thunderstorms in the Midwest. And then just with the convective feed off the Pacific, we could definitely get some thunderstorms out west, that's for sure. We had a pretty hefty snow squall moving across areas of the western U.S. yesterday. We had lightning and thunder. It was pretty wild stuff. Or either that was the day before. I think that was yesterday, though. But, pretty dynamic weather out there. I saw a video. I don't know where it was. I'm not quite sure. I believe it was in Idaho. And these people were just snowboarding, skiing, and it was at nighttime, and it was like just a lightning bolt. And it was like an all-out just snowstorm ongoing. So, pretty wild weather out west over the last several days, and we'll continue to have a pretty active day today. But speaking of excessive rainfall below 5%, so it's not showing up on the map, so I don't think we have anything to worry about as far as flooding for today. Watches, mornings, advisories. We continue to have a fire danger in these red flag warnings in this pink color right in here. So just be careful. I'm sure there's burn bans up for a lot of these areas, but, definitely don't throw any cigarette butts out the window or anything like that. And make sure you put out any fires you got going on. But we got the winter weather advisories up here for several counties, many counties in North Dakota, even a few counties in northwest Minnesota, and some counties in western Montana, and then also in northeast Montana, where we do have some winter storm warnings up in the pink, where we'll have a quick hitting winter storm that's already unfolding right now. It's already ongoing. It looks like the northern Rockies are starting to quiet back down, but that doesn't mean nothing's going to fall. Just nothing that's worth putting an advisory or a winter storm warning up. But we still got winter storm warnings. They're going to continue in the higher elevations of Colorado, Utah, the southern higher ranges of and higher elevations of Wyoming. Still getting enough snow to continue these winter storm warnings in the Oregon Cascades, Northern California, and certainly the Sierra Nevada, where we continue to have blizzard warnings up. And then we still have these high wind warnings up for Southern California, where we'll continue to get some high winds and even some winter storm warnings up for these higher elevations of Southern California, kind of just east of LA and these places like that. A lot of fog out there across the deep south with a moist air mass is pretty much going to be entrenched in place for the foreseeable future throughout the week. A very warm week ahead for a lot of the south and eastern U.S. Very warm day today also. But as far as weather today in the southeast, the HRRR model not doing a great job at picking up these this heavier rain and these storms in Florida right now. But it shows later on this afternoon we will get some thunderstorms that get going here in the northern peninsula of Florida, basically North Florida. Pretty much everybody else, though, we could get some thunderstorms. In fact, we most likely will in southern Georgia. Maybe some showers up here in the Carolinas, very possible. And we keep this going here. And, pretty much everybody else. I mean, we could get some showers, some light rain in the Outer Banks of North Carolina after midnight tonight. Very possible. Could wake up to some showers tomorrow morning. But outside of that, really the big topic for today is these big thunderstorms. They could get fired up later on this afternoon. And this is right around 2-3 p.m. Look at these thunderstorms firing up kind of around and north of the Orlando area. Up here near Gainesville could get some thunderstorms, and check out how they form. Almost like a summer type setup where they kind of form and kind of drift one way or the other depending on the flow. Some thunderstorms even showing up just outside of Miami down here. Some of these could drift into the Tampa Bay region, but they really form. And, we could get some heavy rain from these as they kind of congeal into one area in central Florida here. And then they kind of drift one way or the other. And then by the time we get into this evening, they start to kind of mellow out. And you kind of lose the energy in the atmosphere. It's basically all these storms basically zap up all the energy in the atmosphere and then just kind of meet their own demise. But the northeast today, we're going to deal with some lingering rain up here in the down east areas of Maine through about late morning. This will clear out and be affecting our folks up here in Atlantic Canada throughout the day. But then it ends up being a pretty nice day in the northeast. Not a whole lot going on today. Take it all the way to Monday morning. Quiet weather. Not really anything going on once that rain clears out the areas of Maine this morning. The south central U.S., really the only thing ongoing is areas in Colorado seeing the snow, pretty much the entire western half of Colorado, the higher elevations of Colorado. We'll be getting snow pretty much most of the day. Will be the heaviest in basically the northwest corner of Colorado up into southern Wyoming. And then this low will eventually, the surface low you see right here, will eventually eject across the country. And things will begin to calm down for the most part as we are getting into our Monday. But we'll continue to see a little bit of snow in the higher elevations of Colorado. But things will start to mellow out compared to what's going to happen today. And then we start to get into our Monday. And then that's when we'll talk about these thunderstorms down here in a separate segment here in a couple minutes. But we'll start to get what we call a split flow. And this southern stream flow down here will introduce the threat of widespread thunderstorms for a pretty large area for our Monday afternoon, Monday evening. We head on up here to the north central U.S. Most of the Great Lakes region, you guys are quiet. You're very warm, well above average temperatures. But here's this low pressure bringing all that heavy snow for, pretty much all western sections of North Dakota, but especially the northern counties and northwestern counties of North Dakota. As a pretty decently strong low pressure. It kind of flies basically initially sort of southwest to northeast, but then it just abruptly goes north up into Canada, brings some, I keep pushing the down arrow, sorry about that, and then moves up into Canada. But, we could actually get maybe a round of heavy rain, heck, maybe even a thunderstorm that kind of sweeps through the UP of Michigan, maybe northern Wisconsin later tonight. Could just be some brief showers that kind of sweeps through the entire UP later tonight. And then we wake up tomorrow morning to maybe a little energy, maybe even some thunderstorms down here in south east sections of Minnesota and northern sections of Iowa as we're waking up tomorrow morning. Keep pushing that down arrow. But we got some rain flying around across northern sections of Wisconsin, the UP, and Michigan. This is getting into tomorrow afternoon, so we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves right here, but some cold air could catch up, and we'll speak more on this here in the coming video. And I will have a video tonight. I know I've left you guys hanging in the evening videos. I'll have a video tonight for you folks. We'll get very detailed about what's to come. But here's a closer look at the northern plains with this winter storm. Of course, this is ongoing right now, but you know, this snow will fall pretty heavily here in these counties right here of North Dakota. It'll be pretty heavy. Will kind of be a heavy wet snow too. Not a ton of cold air to really work with this, so it's not going to be that dry, powdery snow. But at the same time, you got energy with snow flying around across southern sections of Wyoming, southwest Wyoming. We could get some snow down here in Salt Lake City, as you're seeing down here, with enough cold air around. But this entire region right here, where Utah, Wyoming, and Colorado connect, we could definitely get some snow. And then we got some lingering just snow showers throughout the afternoon, evening hours, and pretty much throughout Montana, really the southern half of Montana. Just some scattered snows about, nothing too crazy at all. And then by the time we're getting into our Monday morning, things are starting to calm down somewhat. Snowfall between now and the next, basically between now and about late morning tomorrow. We could, end with about 6 to 8 inches of snow in these far northern counties bordering the Canadian line. Not a whole lot in central and sort of eastern Wyoming, but, the northern sections of Montana up here and northeastern sections, anywhere from 3 to 6 inches, just depending on where you live. I would love to know how much snow you guys end up seeing by the time this system's all said and done in like Salt Lake City, but certainly those higher snow amounts will add up here in the higher elevations of Colorado down here. But just a wide look at the western U.S., continuous convective feed off the Pacific. Could get some thunderstorms again. We take it to about midday today. There's that snow flying around across southern sections of Idaho. And there's that snow I mentioned here, right into this region right here of the Central Rockies. Snow continues to fly around. Might let up somewhat in the central southern Sierra Nevada. But kind of in this section right here, the Sierra Nevada, snow continues to fall. Scattered snow showers throughout the northern half of Nevada continue. And then they could get reamped again later on this afternoon, this evening, and throughout Idaho. Western Montana, the big sky country, we'll just see scattered snows, isolated to scattered kind of burst of snow throughout the area. Nothing really consolidated out here. But like I said, not like I said, but like you guys have noticed already throughout the last few days, this is just going to be scattered about. You'll get a burst of snow, things will be calm, then another burst of snow, and this will continue to be the common theme throughout your Sunday into your Sunday night. And then we take it all the way into our Monday morning, and things will start to let up in the Sierra Nevada and just the southern Rockies, but we might have another storm. In fact, we won't. It's not that we might, we will. We'll have another storm that kind of makes its way into really just Oregon and Northern California. But this is a warmer system. We're kind of losing the cold air influence, so not as much snow in those lower elevations, but still could definitely get some heavier snow even in those kind of lower elevations, but not down to the valley floor, I don't think. But this brings a pretty solid chunk of snow sometime Monday afternoon, Monday evening throughout the state of Oregon. And we got a moist feed into Northern California. Southern California, my guy Ron down here in San Diego, you guys are going to stay pretty calm in this. Most of the energy throughout the next 48 hours is going to be really confined to this area right here. So snowfall between now and the next 48 hours. Olympic Mountains will pick up another several more inches. Same thing with the coastal range. Once you get into these higher elevations of Northern California, the Cascades, the chance for more, especially the Oregon Cascades, where more of the moisture will get pushed into this region. Some people could get another couple feet of snow, very possible. And then let's move down here into the southwest. And, you're going to get another few feet of snow, most likely. Kind of, probably, I'm hearing places like Truckee, California are buried with snow right now. But obviously just west of like Reno, Nevada, it's going to get a few feet of snow most likely. But down here to the south, kind of the southern extension of the Sierra Nevada, probably not as much. But, check out the snow in the higher elevations of Utah, the Rockies of Colorado, and a little bit of snow, especially if you live up higher in those elevated regions in northern sections of Nevada. And then we take it up here. Let's take it to Montana. I don't want to leave you guys hanging up here in the northern Rockies. Where is it? There we go. Montana right into here. Not a whole lot over the next 48 hours. Some of these kind of bursts of snow could add up another couple inches, but things are going to be a lot more calm. But another several inches of snow, up to a foot of snow is possible, depending on your elevation in Idaho. So a little bit of snow in like Yellowstone National Park and those higher elevated ranges of Wyoming. So definitely prepare for more snow, but I think the worst is pretty much all said and done. But definitely more snow is on the way, that's for sure. Temperatures, man, maybe record-shattering temperatures are possible today up here in the upper Midwest, where temperatures will rise probably to 70 plus, maybe in Minneapolis. We'll see what happens, but widespread 70s all the way up into Wisconsin. Someone will probably hit 80 degrees in Iowa today. Very, very warm temperatures compared to your average March 3rd temperatures, that's for sure. Very warm. It'll be warmer in Iowa than it will be in the Carolinas today for the most part. But a very warm air mass ahead of this. There's basically a lot of warm, moist air getting surged out ahead of this split flow that's developing. I mean, it'll be chillier in the Northeast, but it's still, a lot of these areas are above average temperature-wise, where you just got widespread 40s and 50s. Higher elevated regions probably won't get out to 30s. Most of the cold air is bottled up in Canada, so... temperatures out west, below average temperatures, pretty much the common theme. Unless you live in like the Southwest, it's still pretty nice conditions down here in like Arizona, but even some of these areas are below average temperature wise. But certainly the South Central U.S., very warm, widespread 70s and 80s expected in these areas. So as we're moving on to what's to come, this is our marginal risk for tomorrow. In this dark green, that is a level 1 out of 5 risk. Now in the discussion, they do mention not necessarily the possibility. They say confidence is too low to introduce kind of a more isolated area of a level 2 out of 5 risk, which would be that slight risk. But if they issue that, I would say maybe they issue it in Louisiana. Maybe there's a bimodal slight risk. We just got to watch this. But as of now, just a marginal risk. Chance for a tornado is below 2%. Wind threat, you got a 5% risk of winds exceeding 50 knots or higher. That's 55 to 60 miles per hour. And the hail threat, a 5% risk of hail, exceeding 1 inch in diameter or larger. As of now, just a pretty large area. A pretty large area has a chance to see some strong to severe storms, but the threat of that higher end of a severe weather risk is not really there with this, but it could uptrend over the next 24 hours. So we'll watch this, and we'll just kind of watch how this can unfold. We'll take a look at Louisiana, surrounding states first. We'll start off tomorrow morning. Just a steady moist flow. You'll wake up to very humid conditions for March 4th standards. And as we start to get to around 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, here comes these thunderstorms developing, and they look quite strong here in central Louisiana. I mean, look at these storms. Hail, damaging wind threat. We could get an uptrend to maybe a very small tornado risk. Of course, even though there's below a 2% risk, that doesn't mean there's a 0% chance. California, over the last 2 days, has seen a tornado in the valley regions. It's pretty wild. Very photogenic tornadoes, too. We've had like 2 tornado warnings, and both of them have actually produced tornadoes. So, it's been a wild last several days of weather in California for sure. But we're talking about Louisiana right now. But 7, 8 p.m. tomorrow, thunderstorms widespread in nature. These will probably be in eastern Texas, too, or have an opportunity to be in eastern Texas. This run of the HRR model, not showing much storms, but... And then we start to get into tomorrow night. I'm talking about like midnight tomorrow night. Look at these thunderstorms down here in southeast Louisiana. Thunderstorms creeping into Arkansas. And this is as far out as the HRR model goes. So we'll kind of stop it right here. We'll kind of back this up, and we'll go up to like Arkansas and see how it kind of evolves these storms. Can't talk. And we could get some thunderstorms also in Alabama and Mississippi too. Don't want to ignore these areas, but here's these thunderstorms that kind of get going, but it's around midnight. So, maybe this is kind of a nocturnal threat of strong to severe storms in Arkansas, but here's these storms popping up. Could pop up as early as maybe right when the sun is setting in Arkansas. Could pop up sooner. We got to look at these new model guidance as it comes in over the next 24 hours. But this is what it could look like around midnight tomorrow night in Arkansas. Some thunderstorms firing up in southern Arkansas around Little Rock. Some storms in this region. And then we just take a look a little bit on up the road, kind of in the Midwest region, where there is a marginal risk up here too. And more of a line of thunderstorms gets going here. It almost starts in like southeastern Iowa, but really starts in like northwestern sections of Illinois. Look at this line of thunderstorms forming here. We have to watch to see if there's a tornado threat up here, maybe some kind of low pressure aiding in a kinematic environment down here. You might be lacking those kinematics down here. Might be a little bit better up here, but you're lacking thermodynamics to the north. We'll have to see how this evolves, but I'll have to watch for some thunderstorms. Look at these thunderstorms up here. You guys have received more thunderstorms in the Midwest than you have in the South this year. I think already this time last year, we had already had like 2 or 3 enhanced risk in the South. In fact, I had already storm chased like twice to Alabama by this time last year. It was pretty wild, pretty early start to severe weather season. Not as quick of a start so far this year across the Deep South, which March can be and February can be very active. But as you can tell, some thunderstorms start rumbling through the heart of Illinois. Some thunderstorms up here, well, down here in northeast sections of Missouri. Thunderstorms moving all the way up into Wisconsin too. And we'll show a better look at Wisconsin probably in tonight's video. So, in general, a lot of dry air over here. And as we are getting into tomorrow afternoon, you can see there's just enough moisture. These are dew points surging up into the Midwest to aid in some decent, at least enough favorable thermodynamics for some thunderstorms up here in the Midwest. But the dew points are much higher down here in the southern Mississippi Valley, the south central U.S., where you got dew points in the 60s, even low 70s. So definitely a much more moist environment down here. But, one thing you do look at is the kinematics. Where are the better kinematics, right? The shear. And it's really, really lacking down here. Really, really lacking. There's not going to be much storm motion with these. That's why when I showed you Louisiana, it looked like the storms were kind of popping up and just kind of sitting in one area. There's not much storm motion. So you're really lacking kinematics. And you're even going to be lacking kinematics up here too. But there's a little bit more of a flow aloft, like a 30, 35 knot low-level jet kind of over the Midwest region. So there might be a 2% risk of a tornado threat issued in this region sometime over the next few updates from Outlook updates from the Storm Prediction Center. We'll have to watch that. Looks like a low-level jet tries to get going in this region. So there will be a threat of severe weather also for Tuesday. Both of these days have a chance to uptrend, so we need to watch this, but it's kind of in the same area, but just for the south. It's not extended all the way up to the north, but all the way up into southern Ontario could have a risk of thunderstorms for Tuesday. A widespread area has a risk of thunderstorms for our Tuesday. So marginal risk for the entire state of Louisiana and surrounding sections of states. So if we take a look at what's to come, guys, we'll start this Tuesday morning. We got rain falling across the southeast, low pressure right in here, a lot of rain moving across areas of the mid-Atlantic. And then it gets kind of interesting in the northeast. Cold air, pretty strong cold high up here in Canada, kind of suppresses this low pressure and allows for this precipitation. We'll go on and get a little bit closer look here in the northeast. It allows for this precipitation right into here to change to snow. The Euro is a lot more aggressive with this. So all of a sudden you got this low here, rain changing to snow in Boston sometime Thursday afternoon, and you get a quick hitting winter weather event. Could be more of a substantial event for Atlantic Canada. That's an area we need to watch as we are moving into the next couple of days. And then that moves on out, okay? And then we take take that broad look at it again. Let's kind of back this up here. Excuse me. And there goes that system heading on off as we're getting into a Friday morning. And here comes a more substantial low pressure here. And we'll have to watch this. This could bring a severe weather threat for the south. Favorable placement of a low pressure, bringing a lot of moist air out ahead of it into the south and southeast. And then this develops, not a lot of cold air to work with. And if something like the Euro happens, then we got to watch a severe weather threat up along the Gulf coastline Friday into Saturday. But as this low pressure, as we're getting into about 6 days out, crosses the Ohio Valley, just not a lot of cold air to work with, but could have enough cold air kind of entrenched into the northeast to bring a winter weather event somewhere in the northeast. Does this low kind of do a transfer and this become more of a substantial system? There's a lot of energy back behind this too. You see how this blue line's kind of buckling down here? It looks like there's another piece of northern stream energy that flies in behind this, and we do need to watch this. This could bring a shot of cold air for the eastern U.S., very fleeting shot, but that could do something interesting as it kind of rounds about this trough that'll be over the eastern U.S., but this is getting into early next week. So what about the GFS? Same kind of deal in the short to medium term. Brings this low pressure into the northeast, high pressure up here, starts to change this moisture into winter weather, but it isn't as substantial for like Boston and these places as the European model. And as you can tell here, you kind of back it up here. Look at the snow flying around across Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, the Adirondacks of New York. Just rain as we're getting into our Thursday morning, March the 7th in southern New England. But as cold air tries to crash down, you're getting a Thursday evening. This moisture turns into a wintry mix, based off the GFS. And then it heads on off. And then it tries to develop another low, throw back some more precipitation, maybe into this colder air. So I think Thursday and Friday we need to watch for the northeast. That's kind of the first, I would say, the first shot of wintry weather. Let's try to see if we can get this going again. And we go back to the United States, take more of that broad look at this. There goes that other low pressure. As we're getting to Friday morning, this is, if you notice, this is much further north compared to the Euro. The Euro has a low way down here in Texas. GFS way up here in the Midwest. Enough cold air for a wintry event, snow in areas of the upper Midwest. We don't know if exactly that's the way it's going to unfold, but we got to watch. A lot of rain across the Mississippi Valley. This continues. Almost develops another low right in here sometime Friday night, Saturday morning. Brings a very soggy weekend across the eastern U.S., which kind of stinks. They canceled my soccer game yesterday and might end up canceling another one. Just been rainy weekends over the last couple weekends, that's for sure. But the GFS is much more significant with a wintry event sometime next weekend. This is getting into next Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening, about 6 days out. Low pressure right here. Enough cold air kind of entrenched into the northeast, and we kind of take a more zoomed in look at this. This is kind of system number 2, right? A lot of rain for the southeast, and this would bring the potential for a substantial winter weather event if the GFS is to correct. Now, what's wild to me is this backside energy that flies in behind this on the GFS for Sunday. European shows this too, but the GFS is much more aggressive. We'll have to watch any kind of backside secondary low and energy that flies through here. Could bring some snow across the Appalachian Mountains and could do something interesting if you connect some pieces to the puzzle right here as this heads on off. So we got to watch a couple storm systems that could produce severe weather, could produce winter weather depending on where you live. That's all I got. Thank y'all for tuning in. God bless everybody and have a great ending to your weekend. I should be with you guys this evening to kind of fine tune everything we just broke down over the last 10 to 15 minutes. God bless all y'all.